Hey, good evening, everybody, and welcome to Port Richmond when we were kids. 1960s, 70s, 80s, and 90s. I'm sure everybody in Port Richmond can agree they were some amazing times. So I'm here with Cheryl Bianco Sweeney. Cheryl, good evening.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. So you ready to delve into some history of Port Richmond?
Sure.
So what year were you born, Cheryl?
Ask away. Oh God, 66.
That's not that bad. So you had some amazing times at Port Richmond. And what area of Port Richmond did
Yes,
you
I
grow up in?
did. Right around the Pale
Okay.
at Belgrade and Clearfield,
Okay.
right across the street from the Hole in the Wall. You wouldn't remember the Hole in the Wall though.
I
It
wouldn't.
was famous
What
for seafood. Yeah, your
now?
mom would, but you wouldn't.
Oh, so was that you said Dave's Seafood?
Yeah, it was called the Hole in the Wall. It was a bar, and they sold seafood, and everybody went for the seafood. On Good Friday, there was a line out the door and around the corner,
And what parish were
and
you
that was
from?
probably 1982. Huh?
What
I went to Our
parish
Lady
were you
Help a
from?
Christian.
Okay.
Our Lady Help a Christian.
And back then, who were
Yeah.
your classmates that you went to from grade school to high school into your teenage years? Who's that crowd that you were with?
All right. Well, now it's going to be hard. But Cora, you know Cora. Everybody
Yes.
knew Cora.
God bless her.
Yeah. From the time I was 8, we went to school together. She was my daughter's godmother. She was my maid of honor.
You know,
We were good friends, and she was crazy.
this is Charlotte. This is why I do this because not only that, but I seen on the Facebook page I created Bobby O just passed away or passed away in the summertime. Bobby DJ'd my graduation party. I didn't know that. I was blown away.
Yeah, I knew Bobby very well.
So these are times where you like to because you don't know you don't know what you promised. So I want to capture these
Yeah.
stories
Mm-mm.
from our era growing up, and so that way, I mean, these great times can be shared forever.
Right.
So tell us about some great times
Yeah.
wherever you hung out. Where did you hang out? What did you guys do? All within
Oh
a
my God!
legality
But
part.
then it's got to be hard. I got to keep it PG, or are my kids going to see this?
Well, this is YouTube. It's going to go on YouTube, so you can run with it.
Oh, okay. Well, let's keep it PG rated. I hung at Cox Playground with the O'Shaughnessy's, my cousin Kevin. There was older kids, younger kids. We went to they called it the bay though. When you went swimming, to the pool. It was called the bay though. Wasn't called the pool or whatever. And then at that time they had the inside, like the, what would you call it, the rec area was open, and we would all hang in there. Some of us smoked marijuana, some didn't. But it was just drank our quarts of beer, whatever, and it was fun. Everybody had to be home at a certain time, by 11, 12 o'clock. Cora wasn't allowed out later. She always had to be home before everybody else. So, which was, we'd walk her home. But it was different. We would go get pizza at Ernie's. I mean, I'm sure you remember. I don't even know if you remember Ernie's being open.
I do.
Ernie's
Do
Pizza.
remember these.
Uh huh. Yeah,
Before it
I
blew
can
up when it
remember.
was a mess shop.
Well, I don't know about that, but
You don't remember
I
that?
can remember. But when it blew up and it was a mess shop,
Yeah, it was a
Ernie's
mess
Pizza.
meth place upstairs. Yeah.
Oh, I don't remember that. I don't remember. I mean, I remember when they, like busted a garage like 2 blocks away from me, that they were making meth in there, and they went in their hazmat suits, and like, it was called crank then. It wasn't called meth. It was called crank. And they went in, like, with their hazmat suits, and took out a big lab. And if you smelled cat piss, you knew there was a meth lab nearby.
Hmm.
But I can remember when Robert Hearn, I hung around with, his radio was stolen. We all carried boom boxes, like the big radios, and everybody went through C batteries like crazy. Um, we would get Danny McCood. I can't say that because it's on YouTube. Well, anyhow, Danny would go and take them for us from Kmart to see batteries. And I remember when Robert Hearn's radio was stolen over in Jewtown. because he was going up to Cambridge Street because of the what the hell bar was that? A Tulip and do you remember Tulip in Cambria?
I
The
do, but I didn't know the name of it.
dugout, the dugout. Yeah, at the dugout. But I mean, it was just crazy times. I can remember, and we would always on Sunday. I don't know if you guys did this. I have to ask my cousin Gary, but on Sundays we would go and watch them set up for the carnival because the carnival would always open like on Monday, and they would bring like all the rides, and we would all be over at the playground like it was a big highlight. Losers that we were, and we would all wait for them to and watch all the carnival guys setting up all like all the rides or whatever. And I can remember one time a girl was in the middle all of a sudden she had a kid with her and got completely naked. She was like on some kind of drugs and completely naked in front of the field. And it was sad because none of us stopped her. Like somebody should have called somebody, but we didn't know then. Like drugs weren't like they were now.
No, I guess we're lucky, and the neighborhood was lucky. We didn't have the technology that they have today.
Yeah, yeah. But I mean, it was a shame because we didn't know. We all laughed about it, laughed at her, but nobody knew. We didn't know. I didn't know anybody on heroin. I didn't know not one single person on heroin growing up. Nobody. And I mean, I knew a lot of people. I just didn't know anybody. Not like I know now.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, I'm sure you did when you growing up that you knew, but when we were growing up, we didn't know anybody that was on drugs like they are now.
Nah, no, it was kind of hidden. Well, I guess in our 60s and 70s, I was born in 73, but in our
Right.
era, like our stuff like that was hidden from us. You know what I mean? We weren't exposed to that until probably our teenage years. And when, like you said, you start seeing people going nuts around the neighborhood.
Yeah, now I think you had to be a little bit younger. I mean, because I know my kids knew, like growing up, like they knew people that were, like that were on heroin. I mean, crazy well, their father was. But I didn't know anybody.
Yeah.
I didn't know anybody. Not one. Like there might have been a rumor, but we didn't even know what it was or, like who they were. I mean, that was the highlight of our weekend. Might have been, like going up to the Buck Overdeen movies or to the Giraffe for a dance, like on Friday or Saturday. Or North Catholic dances. Did they still have them when you were growing up?
They did. The only kind of North Catholic stuff they had with me was just the proms. But we just had
Oh, no.
nativity dances, nativities, Polish American, and I think that might have been it. Then we'd have to go
Yeah.
outside the neighborhood for it.
Yeah, no. We had North Catholic dances every Friday. I think it was every Friday or every other Friday. And we would get our cherry vodka and go underneath nativity steps, drink it before we went. And then, when everybody was home one time. But now they don't have any of that for kids these days. Nothing. And they go up to Kensington Avenue, like to shop in the stores there. You can't even go up there now. I mean, it's disgusting. It is disgusting up there. It's really bad. But that was basically the highlight, like of our thing. We would get something, go up shopping on Saturday to get something to wear to the playground. And they had Cahock dances then too.
Yeah.
But I think like I don't know if we even went to them, but they would have, like volleyball, or we would all just hang out on the playground, and you had your older crowd and your younger crowd. And then we would have to beg the older crowd to go and get us beer, and they would go if it wasn't somebody they were related to. Like I could never ask my cousin Tommy to go get me beer because he would have never went and got it. So we would have to depend on somebody else,
Yeah.
And then they would go and get us quarts of beer, and that was the highlight. And now kids are doing everything under the sun.
Yeah, it's tough. Like you have to worry so much. There's so much out there, not only with alcohol and drugs, and now you got to worry about getting robbed and getting shot and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, and we didn't know like that. Like I said, when Robert's radio was stolen, that was a big deal. Like that was a really big deal. Like everybody was all up in arms. Oh, and one time my girlfriend got kidnapped, but only briefly. They just rode her around the streets or whatever because we lit dog shit on their step. We lit it on fire on their step.
So
and then they dead.
let's get into some of the holidays. As a kid growing up, what were the holidays like?
See, mine were quiet because I was an only child. Like so, it wasn't. I was an only child. Like it was just me, my mom. I mean, then we would go like and visit family. You know, it was always a big deal. Christmas Eve was always a big deal. It depended on what nationality you were.
Yeah.
You know, if it was Christmas, but Christmas was Christmas Eve, but Christmas Day was usually quiet for me. Now, my friends, I mean, that was different. You know, like going to their house. Holidays, it depended on how old I was. Like, um, I can remember one Easter, me and Cora and a friend of ours, Kathy Joyce, and Cora's cousin had went. We were around Cora's house because there was always tons of people around her house on a holiday. So I would always go around there because it was so quiet and boring in mine, and go around there. And I can remember going to a bar at Mercer and Allegheny, and we got thrown out. We were probably 18 then, though. We weren't kids. But holidays were quiet for me, so I'm the wrong person to ask, just because
Was
it was just me.
Marion wasn't your mom, was she?
No. Marion was my Aunt Berkey's sister. I'm related to that was my Uncle Gary. That
Okay.
wasn't I'm related to the Briglios, not to the Berkery.
Okay.
But no, oh my God, Marion was the nicest person ever. I can remember holiday with Marion. It was New Year's Eve, and we were at my cousin Bernie's, and Marion had gotten drunk. And it was the first and only time any of us have ever seen her drunk. And she got sick, and she was drinking Mad Dog, or no, Thunderbird. Kahlua and cream, and she was drinking Thunderbird with my cousin Bernie's husband Anthony.
Yeah.
And she was drunk.
If you could lower your camera a little bit, I'm only seeing a little. There you go. Yeah, I see
I'm sitting on my porch. I came out to have a cigarette because I just got in the door because it was pouring rain.
Yeah.
And I thought, let me come out here and have a cigarette. So, and I tried to install the Zoom on my tablet instead of my phone because my phone's not working right. But you know, I could install it on me.
So let's
yeah, holidays. I mean, holidays were not for me. They were quiet.
Yeah,
You know,
the
other
upcoming.
than going to tours or, huh?
We have Halloween coming up. Describe Halloween for us, for your era.
But when I was a kid, when I was a kid, oh my God, we used to go with pillowcases. Me and my cousin Kevin and my Aunt Kate would take us, and we would just go. I mean, they would be filled, and until we got older, we would come home, dump it out, and then go back out the door again. But mischief night was good. You know, like if you had mischief night, we used to go buy our eggs from this store up on Allegheny Avenue. It was like some guy, I think it was Mary's or whatever, and it was dirty, and her eggs were always rotten. So if you threw them, they were bad. I mean, you stunk really bad. But I was never good at throwing. Like I couldn't. I never hit anybody. I always hit like here, there, whatever. So I was always coming home filled with eggs, and nobody else I hit. You know, or shaving cream. I mean, we didn't vandalize anybody's houses or cars. It was just each other. Mm-hmm. You know, like that we would hit.
Listen, I might have to put something on this because you don't want your kids having mom. What do you mean? What do you mean, mom? What do you mean mischief night was good?
I mean, Ariana's 38. I'm sure she had her own mischief nights. You know what I mean? I'm sure I found, you know, like Alyssa, sure found eggs missing out of the refrigerator or whatever. But yeah, we used to go and buy them from the store up on Allegheny Avenue because her eggs were rotten. Like it was like a Kaz's, you know what I mean? And her eggs were rotten, so we would go and buy our eggs there. And shaving cream, but we didn't ever vandalize anybody's house, their car, or you know, anything like that.
You could just be walking down the street and you catch an egg upside your head because everybody was out for everybody.
Yeah, because the boys were assholes. Like we had Michael Craven, what an ass he was, Waddle. Like he, you know, like we got hit with eggs for them, the Shaughnessy's, you know, like so they were out to hit all the girls with eggs, and half of us couldn't throw. I mean, I couldn't throw, Cora couldn't throw, so we were just, you know, I was home by 8 o'clock because I would be covered from head to toe in eggs, big welts on my legs.
So you come home from mischief night. You come home from mischief night. You walk in a house covered from head to toe in egg or whatever else. What happened when you walked in the front door?
See, I was an only child though, so nothing ever happened. My mom would say, "Oh Jesus Christ, what happened? Go down, go get in the shower, take them clothes off. You're going to get egg all over the house." And that was it. Like I never got punished or anything like that. You know, I didn't. Other people may have, you know, like, but we never did. Like I never did. Kevin never did. And he wasn't an only child, but
you talking about Kevin Kelly?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. Because he hung at the playground with us. He would flop back and forth. Like how you go from place to place or whatever. Because I lived up by, like up by the Pale, and you guys lived on Salmon Street. You know what I mean? So you had your places to hang down there, Valentino's, Stokely. Some people did, and then but we hung up at the Hawks because it was just the location of where of where you live.
Now,
So that's
perfect
basically
example.
where you hung.
Some of the things that haven't been around. Valentino's Arcade. You were probably, well, obviously you're older than me. So explain Valentino's Arcade for people who haven't never had the opportunity to see what it was like back then.
But see, we didn't hang in Valentina's. But I mean, like you went in, they had pinball machines. Sometimes, like like what would you call like a different like Pac-Man type of machine. It was like a luncheonette with an arcade, right? When you say it was like that.
Yeah.
You see, we had Bursett's. We had Bursett's at Golden and Clearfield.
Okay.
That was our place to go for pinball. But they only had one pinball machine for pinball and to like go get pizza or cheesesteak or whatever. That's where we went. So it all depended on your location of where you went.
Right.
Like it depended on where you lived. Like when we were younger, we hung up in the Pale, like on the second floor. I learned how to play pinochle on the back steps, on the back alley. Can you imagine this? A mother letting their 11-year-old daughter be in this back alley, because that's how we went into the Pale, through the back on Belgrade Street, not on Clearfield. We went in through the alley, and I sat there with this cop. His name was John, and he taught me how to play pinochle when I was 11 years old. And every day after school, I would go and meet John on the back steps of the Pale and learn how to play pinochle.
Oh, if you're familiar with my block on Salmon Street, next door to me, we had Sonny Alfonso. I called him Uncle Sonny, and Aunt Betty.
Yeah.
And the summer nights, they'd have the beach chair out there, and he was teaching us how to play poker. So.
Right. But my whole point was, though, I was in an alley.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like I was in an alleyway. It was a little smaller than a small alley, but I was in an alleyway. But it's somebody my mom didn't know. Like that was a neighbor. Like it's a little bit different. But this was in the back thing, and I think like people were trustworthy then, right? A lot more than they are now. Like I wouldn't let my kids go, and I would have to. I wouldn't let them do that unless it was somebody I knew, like my neighbor or somebody. Then I would, but
How about New Year's Eve? I'm sure you guys growing up had some amazing New Year's Eves. I'm talking New Year's Eves from your teenage
when
years
I was
up.
like 15. When I was like, I guess about 14, 15, New Year's Eve, this one my mom would do. Well, we would have somebody go and get all of our alcohol because we were going to be at the playground. So we had one friend, Kenny Gordon, his brother would go and we would all put up money. But I didn't, because my mom would get me a big bottle of 7-Up and say, I don't want you drinking anybody. I know you're going to be drinking. I don't want you drinking anybody, like anything that anybody else has. I don't want them roofing. Well, she would say Mickey, slipping you a Mickey, which basically she meant like a roofie now. And I was the only sober one at the end of the night. And she would act like that she gave me Seagram 7 and 7-Up, but it wasn't. I had my girlfriends were throwing up, and everybody was drunk, and I was the only sober one at the end of the night.
Now,
and that's how my New Year's Eve went.
I have to ask you this question. Now, when we were growing up as teenagers, when you hooked up with a girl, it was called an alley be-wit. Was it like that when you guys?
No, we called it
meeting.
It was called meeting. Yeah, we meeting, and then you would meet them. We would meet them in the jitneys. Like they had the, remember the jitneys when you went in off of Gall Street? It was like kind of like a courtyard. Do you remember? Like if you were going down Gall Street, say walking from like if you were walking towards Somerset Street, it would be on your left-hand side. And it was like kind of open. You know what I'm talking about? It had the big alley. It was like kind of covered. And you walked in, and then it was all open like grass, like a courtyard. And it was everybody's backyard. Well, we would all meet in that big alleyway. Or that was one place. Or back on Seltzer Street, right off of I'm looking now, like right off of Belgrade and Seltzer. There was a house there with like steps, or right up at Thompson and Seltzer.
Yep.
There were steps there, and that yeah. But the jitneys were a big popular place to go. You could walk by any time and see somebody making out, just making out, nothing else, nothing else, unless you were that kind of girl.
Now, recently I did a video, and I remember when I was coming back from North Catholic at Gaul and Cambria, all the older guys like Dave Detro, Brian Fox, Frankie Dixon, PJ Fox, all
No,
those
they're
guys.
younger guys today.
They were, well,
They're
see, they were
younger than
younger
me.
guys. You like they
Yeah.
did some funny shit. Like Greek, we like it's not summer ain't beginning yet. And they're all outside sunbathing on a corner of a pavement in the city of Philadelphia, right? So who were those people to you when you were growing up?
Well, see, they were younger. Who was the crazy people with us? Like, I don't know. Like Danny McCucci was kind of crazy. I don't. I hate to bring up names. Like I remember when
But
he
it's all in
pissed
good
in
spirit.
a quart bottle. When he pissed in a quart bottle, and somebody kept on. I'm not going to mention her name. Kept on saying, "Oh, like give me a sip, give me a sip," and he pissed in the bottle. And luckily, one of the guys, right before she drank it, said, "No, no, 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 don't don't do that, don't do that." So but yeah, he was crazy. But now nobody, like, I can't really remember anybody. Now see, Core would remember everything, like everything. But this is when we were younger. I mean, we didn't really do anything. I like when I was young, people, like did, but no, they didn't really do anything crazy that I could think of. But my memory, I think I'm getting dementia because I can hardly remember shit. I would have to call Core all the time and say, Core, do you remember this? Do you remember, do you remember that? Like our highlight when we were kids was to play knock knock zoom zoom on somebody's door. Or the time, like I said, we lit a bag of dog shit on somebody's step because they were just assholes. And then they came and kidnapped my girlfriend and put her in the back of a car and drove around the neighborhood with her. And nothing happened to them. Can you imagine that
Yeah,
today? I mean, even the cops were involved, but nothing happened to them. Nothing, like nothing at all.
yeah.
And then we would just like, for me growing up, like going out with my friends, but the highlight would be like towards like at the end of the night. Me and my neighbors, like you wouldn't know who they were, but Nancy Gaydosh and Eileen Gall, we would sit out on our porch in our pajamas for hours, smoking our cigarettes, hiding to our parents. Like as soon as our parents went to sleep, we would be out on the porch, like smoking. We didn't drink then, and that would be, like the big deal. But nobody now. Everybody, all the guys were kind of like normal. I don't remember except for Dizzy. He was the nuts one.
Yeah.
Like he was crazy. I can remember being at Cora's house and him coming out of her kitchen with a funnel, his zipper open and a funnel where like in the zipper area and had his, you know,
Yeah.
his
Yeah.
thing
No,
with
no explanation needed.
sticking out through the funnel, like sticking out through the funnel. Like he would do stupid shit like that. But nobody hung. I don't think anybody would be out, you know, sunbathing or no, they weren't crazy because see, that's when drugs started to get involved. Nobody, when I was young, nobody I hung around with did any drugs. Nobody,
What was the
like
go-to
except for
cigarette as a teenager in Port Richmond?
oh my god, me and Cora would smoke parliaments, and she still smoked them up until she died. We would they were 65 cents, and each day we would pay a different amount. One day she would pay 30, I would pay 35, and then the next day we'd have that floating nickel through the back and forth through us. And I can remember as a kid walking home, and we would hide them up the street from me in somebody's dryer vent, like up right at the corner of Ball and Elkhart. I lived on Elkhart, and we would hide them. And then the next day when we would go, like go out and go to grab them, they would be gone. So then we'd have to go and buy another pack, and then it would happen again the same night. It took us like 2 weeks before we realized her brother Jeannie was following us home and stealing them. He would watch to where we hid them, and then he was stealing our cigarettes. But yeah, parliaments were the big thing, and I think Marlboro Lights. I think like were the big cigarette that everybody smoked.
So,
But yeah, and they were only 65 cents. Can you imagine?
so you're finally reached, well, legally reached 21 or however what time whatever age it was. What was the
But
go-to
then
bar?
when I went out drinking, when I
Well,
went out drinking, I was 15 or 16 when I went. I had fake ID. I had an actual real non-driver's license because back then you could go in with a baptismal certificate. And my girlfriend's mom had worked in a rectory and got us blank baptismal certificates. So we just had to go up, and we had non-drivers. What were the bars to go to? I used to go to the Oaks with my girlfriend, but I was only 16. They were older. And the Oaks or the AD was like the big thing then. And we were younger, and they were like, I mean, we were young, like 16, 17, 18.
I remember when I came home from the service, we had Somersets. Somersets was big. And
yeah, well, before it was Somerset, it was JT's back then.
Yep.
Yeah, it was better when it was JT's. I didn't like it when it was Somerset, but it was JT's. Then we had standing room only was on Richmond Street. Do you remember that or no?
I do. Well, I was never in there, but I remember it.
Oh yeah, standing room only was the place to be. Was like the good, like was everybody went to standing room only, or it was JT's and then it was standing room. I think it was JT's then standing room only. I'm trying to think. I don't know what was open before, and then it was Somerset's, and then they had the big fire. You remember?
Yeah.
When they had the big fire, but before that, years before that, it was called the St. Anne's Club.
And then my other go-to one was the Playground Saloon.
Yeah, the playground. My husband actually now it's Bassoons. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, because my husband actually, I forget what the name of the bar. Do you remember the name of the bar before that?
I think it was Dalton's Den, was it?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
And then you had the Spar Bar.
Where was that
Kevin's
at?
was. I think Kevin's bar was the Spar
That
Bar,
was
right?
Called?
I
yeah,
think so.
I don't know. I never went in any of them bars. I never went in any of them. But it was for us. It was, and then we had friends, and then I also was Mary's A&A at Alman and Ann. Alman and Ann, which was the dive of all dives. And I'm sure you never went in it. Now I think it's like a 24-hour bodega or whatever. Like all the bodegas and poppy stores are taking over the neighborhood.
Sure,
like any store that you, huh?
What would you think the difference from Port Richmond when we were growing up to the Port Richmond now? What do you think the difference is?
Oh God, I don't know. A lot more drugs. A lot more drugs. I think that has a big effect on it. And because of the drugs coming in, you're getting a different type of people that are coming in. And I think like a lot of store owners got older, like as the neighborhood started to change. See, I have to watch what I say. You know what I mean?
Totally understand.
I'm trying to keep it PG and Black Lives Matter. I just think I think it is. I think it's the drugs that got into the neighborhood, and with people, like doing them. I think the store owners, like they got older and thought, like got scared, like of different things that were starting to change, and then they're selling them, and then you're getting the bodegas that come in, and I think that has a lot to do with it too, because people look for them kind of stores because they do shady things. Like sell the stuff you need to smoke your crack or whatever. But I think drugs are a big thing. Like I said, I didn't know anybody on heroin, and I know none of my friends knew anybody on heroin. And I think that has a lot to do with the neighborhood changing.
What would be one of your most memorable moments? I remember you mentioned you and Corey just spent a lot of time together. What would have been?
Oh my God,
some of your memorable moments?
Oh geez, I don't know. Well, see, I had a baby when I was 18, so I was, kind of out of the. Well, no, I still went out, but I wasn't around like everybody else stuff, Probably in the neighborhood. Oh God. Oh. Just different things. Going down the shore was the most memorable. Do you think everybody went down the shore? Like that's what we did around here. But most memorable moments. Oh God, I got to be able to say them. I can't. Most of them involve alcohol.
That's why you can't remember.
Yeah, probably. But no, like I said, I'm getting like dementia. I'm trying to think of like all the different, because Cora was crazy. Cora did she was funny. She did some very like funny shit. I can't remember all of it now. Like when she was like rode up and down the street in the back of a convertible waving in a prom dress like she was Miss America. I don't know. When I was younger, like most memorable. Oh, I was on Dancing on Air. That was my most memorable moment. I was on there twice. There you go. I could tell you exactly what I had on both times. Like would be going to like we would go to the roller skating. We would go to Concord roller skating rink on Sunday nights. Do you remember that place or no? It might have been closed. We would go, and then sometimes they would have like different like singers, and I guess they weren't that famous at the time. Like I see Frankie Smith there from Double Dutch Bust. Like they were memorable times. Like going there. We would go to the Doral on Fridays. See, I wasn't that excited. I mean, I was kind of boring, and I got to keep it PG. So, because my kids are going to see this, because their mom was very innocent throughout all of this. Yeah, very, very innocent. Yeah, I mean, I guess just like them different things, other than like little crazy, stupid things, like when Cora held a fence up, we were smoking in the alley, and she said this fence is going to fall. We all laughed, ha ha ha. No, it's not. And she pushed us the other way, and she moved, and the whole cinder block fence went completely down and knocked the fence down behind it. Like stupid shit like that. Or when my girlfriend's fault was not her husband at the time. It was a mischief night, and here comes the bus, the 60 bus down Allegheny Avenue. The bus driver opened the door and winged hit the bus driver with eggs, with rotten eggs from Mary's. You know, just like stupid stuff that wouldn't be that funny to like to anybody else. Like going down every Saturday, we would walk down Kensington Avenue, to go to Father Son Pizza. We'd have pizza and just shop or different stuff like that. Like nothing. I can't even think of it. Like nothing that crazy.
Yeah.
Like we were pretty, until I got older. I know I'm boring. I was a boring person.
Well, our interview time is cutting short here. Unfortunately, we have a 40-minute time limit. But Cheryl, I want to thank you for coming on and sharing. Whether you think they're boring or not, someone's going to get a kick out of these, and someone you hung out with is going to memorize your stuff.
I mean, there was so much, but I just can't. Like when you're on the spot, you just can't think of.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like just the crazy. You would have to know the person, like just the crazy stuff that like.
Yep.
Cora would do, or my girlfriend, like Barbara. We were just more interested in the boys.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, hopefully other people will see this and listen. I challenge all the guys out there. Don't be shy. There's no more rep to protect. We're old. We're getting gray. Let's come on here.
Now, see, my cousin Gary's not on Facebook.
Tell him to get his ass on here.
Huh?
You don't have to be on Facebook. All you got to do is have a phone like you do.
I'm saying, like, he don't know, but I'll have to get him to do it because I'm sure he has some crazy stories.
Dude. Yeah.
And well, I don't know where Nikki is, but Gary has I'm sure he has some crazy stories.
I did speak with Nikki. We're supposed to touch base, but he never got back to me. So.
Well, if I see him, I'll tell him to get back to you.
Well, Cheryl, thank you for coming on tonight and taking time away from your family here. I want to end this before it abruptly ends because that's what technology does to us. But again, thank you for coming on. Obviously, I live up in the Northeast. You're down there, so all the holidays are coming up. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. Stay safe on mischief night. No throwing eggs.
No, I'll try not to. I don't want to stay as I used to.
Cheryl, thank you so much again for taking time out.
No problem.
For sharing some memories, and I'll see you around the neighborhood.
All right. Have a good night.
Take care.